A couple months ago, I made a video about how far the best Skylander from each of the games could get me with 1 life. And since y'all seem to enjoy that video, I thought the logical next step would be trying to get through each Skylanders game with the worst Skylander from its respective game, with just 1 life. Like last time, picking the absolute worst Skylander is subjective, so I again tried to do this with the most objective lens possible, whether it be they have terrible damage per second or super low health, or perhaps they're just very hard for me to use. Last time in the beginning of the video, I didn't really clarify which difficulty I was going on throughout each playthrough, but I was on hard mode, and I know a lot of people want me to play on nightmare mode, but getting through all the Skylander games with the best Skylander on hard mode was challenging enough as it is, and now since I'm playing with the worst Skylander from each of the games, I don't want to die on like level 3, and the video just wouldn't be that interesting if I did that. I know this is more of a skill issue if anything, but I have beaten a Skylanders game on nightmare mode with 1 life, okay? So I do have the ability. Come on. There we go, baby. Let's go. Give me that. Give me that. I'm the best Blastron player of all time. But again, since I'm using some pretty bad Skylanders, I will be playing on hard mode for each game. And again, like last time, I will be keeping track of a scare stat. Basically what a scare is whenever during the run I genuinely get afraid that the run is about to end, that is counted as a scare. And I'll be keeping track of how many scares there are per game. However, if I do get defeated the moment before I get defeated, it isn't counted as a scare since I didn't live to see it through. With all that being said, let's hop right into the first game of the series. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to something new, the Sky Shop. But Skylander Gamer TV, what's the Sky Shop? Thank you, I'm glad you asked. So one of my good buds and Sky Tuber, Cal Fuyama, is opening an online store known as the Sky Shop. What's on the shop, you might ask? Well, it's a whole bunch of high quality Skylanders inspired merchandise with very unique and cool designs. And there's a whole bunch of different sections to the store. You have your Heroes of the Sky with a bunch of different Skylanders on it. There's the Doom collection with a lot of Chaos related merch, which I think is a pretty cool aspect. There is the Champion selection too, with some of the most unique designs in the entire shop if you ask me. And my personal favorite, the Boom Squad, with Flint clothing, which is just awesome. There's also some merchandise with designs from some of the most famous villains across the Skylands. And what is even better is this is only an early access version of the website that Cal Fuyama was nice enough to let me have access to show off to you in this video. Which means there is so much more to come to this website. The shop opens up on June 22nd at 12 p.m. Central Time. So I guess adjust that to whatever time you have. Look, here is my live reaction of me waiting for the shop to open since it's summer and I have nothing else to do. The link to the website will be in the description below, and the link to his Twitter will be in the description below too, so you can always have live updates on what's coming to the shop. But anyway, thank you Cal Fuyama for making this Skylanders inspired merchandise shop, and let's get right into the video. Okay, I know this pick will be unpopular because for whatever reason, this Skylander has seen a resurgence all of a sudden in popularity, which I just do not understand. But for Skylander Spyro's Adventure, I will be using Sunburn. I absolutely despise this Skylander. At least on the Xbox 360 versions, which are the versions I play on, in my opinion, he is awful. When you use his primary attack, he can barely move, his secondary teleportation move is super clunky, and his Phoenix Dash is probably his best ability, but that isn't saying that much. Even if Sunburn secretly is this amazing Skylander, which it isn't, I can't use him. I am terrible with him, so he's the perfect pick for me for Spyro's Adventure. Despite my obvious discontent for Sunburn, I would be lying if I said getting through the first couple of levels was a challenge. I got through both the first and second levels with ease. For some reason, I thought the first real level of Spyro's Adventure, Sky Shooter Docks, would give me some trouble, but even with Sunburn, this level was a breeze. Honestly, the turret sections here gave me more trouble than any of the enemies in the docks. The next level, Stormy Stronghold, was the first chapter where I got hit up a little bit. It was near the end of the level, I lost a bit more than 100 health points, but by the end of the battle I had gotten all my health back, so it wasn't that bad. Each of Oil Spill Island and Darkwater Cove, the first 2 of 3 water levels, were also light work if I do say so myself. I know, it's crazy, Sunburn is like a horrible Skylander, but even the beginning of SSA is worry-free. However, this has something more to do with the fact that SSA has no difficulty setting, which means for the first batch of levels, you are not going to have very many problems. Luckily for you guys, since I know you all want to see me get defeated, the first boss fight of the game is the next task. For the real level portion of Leviathan Lagoon, it is straightforward and I had no problems. This was not the case for the boss fight though.
I'm a bit scared of this boss fight because it's a boss fight, you know what I mean? So that inherently is like hard, I guess.
First thing, the evil Zap minion is pretty much the worst thing for Sunburn. It is an enemy that has ranged attacks and moves around a lot. Well, really anything for Sunburn is bad, but this specifically is very hard to deal with. Since Sunburn has to use his fire breath for a bit to get it to do some real damage, and the fact that the enemy is constantly moving, it doesn't really help. But eventually I was able to get past evil Zap. Now, when it comes to the shark spell sections, it's been very stated that I am not good at these. I don't know what it is, I've tried to get past them, I just can't seem to avoid the sharks. Thankfully for me, I didn't lose too much health here. For Evil Glumshanks, he's essentially just a worse version of Zap. He moves around a bit, but not as fast, and he shoots projectiles, but you can get out of the way very easily. So, Gilgrunt was taken out pretty fast. After another shark spell section, the final evil enemy we face is Slam Bam. Now, taking down evil Slam Bam took forever, because Slam Bam deals way too much damage for me to play around with him, and I didn't want to get hit. So what I would do is I would go up to him, hit him for a second, then run out of the way right after. After dodging a lot though, evil Slam Bam was bested by Sunburn. But right after that, you have to fight all 3 of the minions together. Now, since all the minions' health gets drastically nerfed when you fight all 3 of them together, I just decided to go straight up to evil Zap, which worked, and I did the same thing with Slam Bam. But right when I defeated him, the shark spell came up with evil Gilgrunt still around. So I had to dodge sharks for a while Gilgrunt just shot me in a corner where I couldn't really reach him. But then Gil finally faced me like a man and I burned him to a crisp. Somehow during this fight there was never a scare, which honestly I wasn't expecting. The following chapter is Crystal Eye Castle, which I thought was going to be painless, but boy was I wrong. The first couple of minutes wasn't too bad, just taking down Cyclops, you know, the usual, but then I started moving towards the second tower of the level and I got hit up by a couple of rock lobbing Cyclops, and by the time I was in the tower itself, I had less than half of my health. What you have to do in these towers is destroy light beams, and I did that, but apparently you have to defeat all the enemies in the tower, which I didn't remember. And after I was done with the enemies, I was all the way down to 110 health when I left the tower. And when I got out of the tower, immediately I got hit by 2 of the rock throwing Cyclops and got down to 38 health. And right here is the first scare of the run. Luckily for me, there was some food right after, which got my health back up, but still, I was pretty scared I was going to die here. And right before the third and final tower, I was able to get my hands on some food pieces, which got my health back all the way up to 230. But in the process of getting this food, I almost got killed, which is the second scare of the run. Now, I was at 230, which pretty much got immediately hit down to 158 because of those stupid rock throwing Cyclops again. They have owned me so far this level. When it got down to just me and a couple of axe spinning Cyclopses left, Sunburn did another showcase of why he is a god-awful Skylander, when his attacks wouldn't even register to the Cyclops, and I got down to 74 health. Now, right there, that might have been my fault, but when I ran into the Cyclops and got down to 26 health, that's another scare, making this level have 3 of them, which is a record for this series. But then I had a top 5 biggest lock-in moments of all time, and got some food to restore some health, and I barely got out of the level with 98 health. Now, luckily for me, Stone Town is our next level, and it is absolutely nothing compared to Crystal Eye Castle. The level itself didn't present any qualms for me, and the lame excuse they call a boss fight at the end of the chapter as well didn't cause any harm. So for the first of 2 life levels, Treetops Terrace wasn't a walk in the park like I had assumed. Again though, most of this has to do with Sunburn sucking, which I guess you could have guessed. There are drows here with shields, and Sunburn doesn't do enough damage before they can get their shield back up, and that sucked. Then there was a section where I think I'm just so used to Skylanders being able to defeat spear drows with no difficulty, so I just ran into a crowd of them, which what was I thinking? I'm using a bottom 10 Skylander of all time, and I got mowed down by them, going down to 65 HP. But I wasn't too scared because I knew there was food nearby, and I also knew that I just had to stay away from the drows and be more careful. After that, the rest of the treetops was fine. Now comes another evil minion boss battle with the chapter The Falling Forest. So like other boss fight levels, the real level portion is a piece of cake, but I knew before the fight that I was gonna have to be locked because, well, Sunburn sucks. I know this entire SSA part of the video sounds like a hit piece on Sunburn, and Well, you're right. Thank you for noticing. Going into the battle, I had pretty much full health, but Evil Zook, the first minion, took out a good chunk. This is because I forgot that Evil Zook's projectiles also shoot out little mini projectiles as well, and those did a lot of damage to me. But once I realized that, I was able to take him down with relative ease, and for the first life spell portion, I got past it unscathed. Now, Evil Stealth Elf, believe it or not, is almost like a perfect enemy for Sunburn, since she dashes at you, but then Sunburn can do his fire dash while she does this and do damage to her without Stealth Elf damaging Sunburn. So this is what I did to defeat her, and for the second time, the life spell part wasn't hard at all. Unfortunately, Evil Stump Smash was not a walk in the park. It was just hard to avoid his acorns when Sunburn is pretty slow and kind of has to get close to Stump Smash to deal damage, and by the time I was done with Stump Smash, I was down to 329 health. Now, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the third life spell section is super hard for me. The first and second ones are not bad at all, but I just can't get past the third section without losing health. And after this spell section was done, I was down to 69 nice health. And to be quite frank, at this point, I was very sure I was cooked. I tried to attack Stealth Elf and got her down to literally a sliver of health, but she was too fast. And since Sunburn cannot move after he's done with his dash ability, which is another reason to hate him, I got defeated.
Yeah, what can I say? I mean, Sunburn's so bad. I have no idea why anyone ever defends him. I really do think people that like him, all these people that are coming out now saying they love Sunburn, are just trying to be different. He's terrible. Actually did okay against Stealth Elf in the one-on fight, but when he's going up against not a Skylander, a enemy that has more than the health of a Chompy, he's terrible. God forbid an enemy has a ranged attack, you're cooked if you have Sunburn. Awful Skylander. Glad he's never got any other reposes. He's terrible. Bottom 10 Skylander of all time. I'm surprised I even got this far with him. I got like barely halfway through the game. Yeah, awful. Would not recommend. So yeah.
Okay, since there was no scare in level 11 Falling Forest, I am only counting 10 levels for the scare statistic since we never finished level 11. We had 3 scares and 10 chapters, which is 0.3 scares per level or only 1 scare for every 3.33 levels. I am a bit disappointed in myself because I thought I could at least get to the undead levels, and I'm pretty sure that if I was just able to defeat Stealth Elf, I could have gotten past Falling Forest, but I fell short here. So our next job is to try to get through the second Skylanders game, Giants. Giants is a bit of a weird case for me. Honestly, I think the Giants has one of the more consistent rosters of the series. I don't necessarily hate any of the Skylanders here, like how I did with Sunburn and SSA, yet I still had to pick a Skylander here. I wasn't really considering any Giants for this game just because of how much health they have. It's hard for them to be the worst. So the list for this game came down to 3 cores, those being Chill, Fright Rider, and Sprocket. In the end, I did go with Sprocket, but I will say I was pretty close to picking Fright Rider. But now we have our Skylander, let's dive into Giants. Also, we finally have a difficulty slider this time, and like promised, I'm using hard mode. Much like every single first level, Time of the Giants was easy, as it's basically a demo level to show off how Giants are used, even though, you know, we're not using the Giant for this playthrough. And the second level, Junkyard Isles 2, acts as kind of a guide to show off some more Giant features that were not in Time of the Giants. Dude, getting through like areas like these without a Giant is so terrible. It takes so much longer. Like, I have to go out of my way to like do all this stuff to get bombs and stuff. It's just annoying. So like, now I gotta go back all the way, get a bomb, because I'm not using the Giant. Which, you know, it's my fault, because I chose Sprocket. I mean, because she is the worst, but like, hey. However, Giants is a much shorter game than Spyro's Adventure, only having 16 main levels compared to Spyro's Adventure's 22 main levels. Basically, SSA has 27% more game than Giants. With Giants being a quicker experience, the level difficulty also gets a bit harder, with level 3 Rumbletown presenting some challenges. Where the challenge came from was at the very end of the level, with the first ever arena battle in the series. What happened was, Brock the Evil Dro entered the arena, and I kind of underestimated how much damage he can do to a core Skylander. Right when he dropped into the arena, he hit me for 132 health points, and for Sprocket, that is a considerable amount. Brock was able to land one more hit on me again, getting me down to 333 health. Ooh, okay, I need to lock in. But I was able to complete the level swiftly after that, so there was no scare here.
Brock just wanted to be liked. Thought the Skylander would make the crowd happy. Was that wrong? I don't think it is.
I think it is wrong, Brock. The following chapter is Cutthroat Carnival, aka the Skystones level. During one part of this level, you have to face 3 Goliath Drows, 3 Cyclops, and a couple Drow Archers. I got stuck in a fighting animation and I couldn't move, and some Cyclops were able to hit me, putting me at 435 health. Then, stupidly, I tried to put down a Sprocket tank and a Goliath Drow pieced me up. This lowered my health all the way down to 295. I just started using my mines after that to defeat the Goliaths, which worked, and getting rid of the archers after that was easy. And I got some food to boost my health back up by 100 more health points. Eventually near the end of the level, these enemies called Executioners get introduced, which are a bit annoying to defeat since they use ranged attacks far away from you than they use melee attacks when you get near them. Here I used Sprocket's tank again, which got rid of one, but then the other one struck me twice, and I was all the way down to 204 health. Hey. Seriously? But I was able to heal up, and when I got to the final fighting section of the level, I was back up to 533 HP. Unfortunately for me, the Executioners were back and whipped my health all the way back down to 387. But luckily, once the Executioners were gone, the rest of the enemies were not hard at all, and I got past them to complete the level. Our next task is Glacier Goalie, and this level was very annoying because of the ice mechanic in the game. Sometimes you have to fight enemies on ice, and that's hard because you can either barely move or move too fast. I don't know, the game just decides what the ice does to you. That's what it feels like sometimes. Anyway, guess who's back in this level? It's the Executioners, and they are dealing damage to me yet again. This time during one fight, an Executioner hit me, and a bomb enemy introduced in this level hit me at the same time for a wombo combo and took out a third of my health. Good for me though, the bomb enemies drop bombs that you can also use, so I used those bombs to get rid of the rest of the enemies, but not unharmed since I got out of this with 295 health. After navigating some more ice, I was thrown into another fight with a lot less health this time, and they threw a bunch of Cyclops at me too. Too many if you ask me. And they were low-key destroying me, and then one of them sliced me, and if it couldn't get any worse, yet again the Executioners came back, and I was already low here at 192 HP, and then the Executioner got me to my rock bottom in the playthrough when he aimbotted his axe at me and decimated me to double-digit HP with 89 health points being left. And yeah, this was definitely the first scare of the run. But then I locked in, and by locking in, I mean I just threw a bunch of mines forever until the enemies walked on them and got blown up. And shout out to the game for giving me some free food after that section because that helped me get past the rest of the fight and easily finish the rest of Glacier Goalie. I'm so good at this game. Oh my god. Holy clutch. Am I not done yet? Oh my god. Oh my god. Unfortunately for me, one of my least favorite levels in the series is next up. We got the Secret Vault of Secrets. The main reason why I dislike this level is because for half of it, we are just doing turret sections, which I feel like in every one of my videos, I find a way to bash on turret sections in Skylanders, but it's probably deserved. Thankfully though, this level, it just sucks. It's not hard. Even getting past the Arcane Juggernauts wasn't that bad near the midpoint of the level, but after going through some more turret sections, I got to another Juggernaut, and this one was able to land a decent hit on me, which lowered my HP to 452. But nothing scare-worthy here. The rest of the level was completed pretty quickly after. No, Ghost Robot friend, please, don't die. The famous Willikin Village is the following chapter, and it also features the first boss fight of the game. The majority of this level was honestly a breeze until the last stages. The hardest thing that I encountered was those stupid crates that go up and down, and even to this day, 13 years later, I still don't know the pattern when I first go through them. Oh, you're kidding me. Dude, how do I do this? Oh my god, dude, how do I get out of this? Those crates caused me to lose some health, but luckily for me, this level has a world swapping mechanic that can also help you get back health. Later, right before entering the boss fight arena, I was battling some trolls and I kind of got cornered by them and lost a lot of my HP, which was not the best thing to happen since I was about to fight the chompy mage. But I did get my hands on some food, which got me to 428 HP, which still wasn't ideal, but it was better than going into the fight with 228 HP. It turned out though, I also needed that sweet food because right when the boss fight started, I got ran over by the chompy mage, draining my health all the way back down to 251. And then it got even worse when he used his air attack, which brought me all the way to him, and he landed a major blow on me, getting me down to 87 HP. And right here was the second scare of the run. But remember that healing mechanic the level has? Well, it comes back in the boss fight, which kind of makes it a bad boss fight since you can just straight up get all the way back up to your max health during the fight. But I don't care because it worked out for me here, and the chompy mage was no problem after that. Alright, next up is Troll Home Security, one of the most mid-levels in the series. As the name would suggest, you have to fight a lot of trolls here, and two of my least favorite are here too, the D-Riveter and the Troll Grenaders. These guys have long range attacks and can wipe out your health like it's nothing. After facing off against these trolls at the midpoint of the chapter, I had lost about a third of my health. But it wasn't until the cannon part of the level where things got real. By this time, I actually got my HP back up to 464, but I completely wasted it, as just 2 evil shields evaporated me, mainly due to my poor play here. But I was at 59 health left, and yeah, this is scare 3 of the run. Well, I'm in a pretty bad position right now. Dude, okay, Sprocket, thanks for dealing damage. That was awesome. This is not good. I'm not gonna lie, this is not good. Now it was time to put on my big boy pants, since I had to navigate through a bunch of cannons being shot at me, knowing that one hit would end the run. I was somehow able to defeat a swarm of fire chompies along with troll grenadiers without being touched at all. And one of them was even kind enough to drop me some food, which got me out of complete one-shot health. Oh no. Come on. There we go. And at the final fighting stage of Troll Home Security, there was some more food, but I was pretty low still, and there was a lot of enemies to fight off. However, this time, the Derivators actually helped me out, as he accidentally took a couple of evil shields out for me. The Sprocket Mines came through for me once again, since I didn't want to get up close with any of the enemies, and it worked out for me, and I finished this level in one piece. I had a very close call on the next level, and the first video in this series was Swarm, so going back to Chaos's castle, I was very nervous with my chances of extending this playthrough. I mean, right when I started the level, the Archean Cracklers took out a decent chunk of my health, so it already wasn't looking too good for your boy. As I passed through the underground of the castle, I healed up a bit, which was needed since we're now entering the first big fight of the level. You battle in a courtyard of sorts with a bunch of trolls, and there's also a giant troll mech here. And as you could guess, it was the troll mech that landed a few hits on me, and after he was gone, I stupidly let a troll smash me with his mace, which was not good because the next part of the level is the hardest fight in my opinion of the game so far. The game did try to help me out a little bit though, since there was some food off to the left when you enter the area, but I still had less than half of my original HP. Quickly, a Cyclops struck me with his weapon, taking all the health that the game had just given me. And then for whatever reason, I really don't know why, I didn't use a mine on a Crackler, and again, I was in double-digit health points, but that same Crackler dropped me a pretzel when I defeated it. How nice. Then I saw 2 troll mechs coming down into the arena, and right then, I low-key knew it was over. I tried all I could, but the mechs cornered me, and well... Alright. I thought this is where it was going to end. What I will say about Sprocket is she's not like a terrible Skylander. I don't think she's a bottom 5, 10 or 5 Skylander. I mean, she's not like the best, obviously. I think Giants' roster is just pretty stacked, honestly. So she kind of got thrust into this role. The main issue with her, obviously, was that she didn't have that much health. You know, Giants have way more health than her. And her, when it comes to being able to attack enemies quick, her mechanical shooting thing, it just takes too long, and it doesn't reach far enough, and it gets defeated too easily for it to be really viable in my opinion. And then her main attack, her primary, just you have to get too close and personal to enemies, and that can obviously drain her health. And then the only viable attack option in my opinion, which is a good attack I will say, is her mine ability, but as you can see there just wasn't enough. So anyway, on to Swap Force. We played 9 levels but only finished 8, so with 8 levels being played and 3 scares, that gives us 1 scare for every 2.67 levels. At this point, I was questioning myself if I could do it. I had barely gotten just past the halfway point of each game. I asked myself, was I washed?
But I always remember something when I retired myself, and there was a saying I always remember. As a
Skylanders player,
leave the
Skylanders
before the
Skylanders
leaves you. The
Skylanders
left them at this top level.
SGTV
Needs to call it a day at this level of
Skylanders
and move.
But with the next game being Swap Force, which is an easier game than Giants, I wasn't quite ready to hang up the towel yet. So, I'm not gonna lie, this pick is kind of personal for me because I just really hate this Skylander and everything he stands for. The Skylander I will be playing as in Swap Force is Rubble Rouser. He is the only swapper that I straight up just dislike. While his health is pretty good, his attacks, in my opinion at least, are terrible. He doesn't have any good ranged attacks, and I know some people will say, well, technically he has a combo where you can throw his hammer. Yeah, if I have to use a combo to do that, it doesn't count as a real ranged attack. And also, his hammer throw isn't even that good to begin with. Anyway, now that I have my Skylander, I booted up Swap Force, put the game in hard mode, and started the first level, which is Mount Cloudbreak. Oh, I forgot we can jump. Oh my gosh. We've been playing games where you can't jump. This is so much better. which I mean we all knew I got through without a scratch. But the problem with Swap Force is how long the levels are. Swap Force has the least amount of real levels out of any of the games that we played through so far. To counter that, they made the levels way longer. So I'm spending what feels like forever in these very easy stages, and that is why, in my opinion, Swap Force can feel like a slog to get through sometimes. But now that Mount Cloudbreak is over, the ensuing chapter is Cascade Glade, and this is pretty much just an extension of Mount Cloudbreak. It was easy, and it was also very lengthy, so that's great. However, Mudwater Hollow, the following level, had something quite interesting happen in it. For the vast majority of this level, I was good, and nothing had me worried. But the stupid raft section almost screwed me. This, for me, is somewhat like the sharks in SSA. For whatever reason, I always take damage at the third raft section in this level, and this time, it took down a lot of my health. I was just running straight into mines, and it felt like I didn't have enough time to move out of the way. Now, this is probably a skill issue in my poor play, but it still happened. And by the end of the third raft section, I had 74 HP. And when that mine hit me to lower me to that 74 health points, that was the first scare of the run. Which, I must say, I did not think this would be the way I got the first scare of Swap Force. Dude, if I die in the third level because of these stupid mines, I'm gonna be very mad. Not gonna lie. Dude, oh my god. Okay, wait, yo, hold up, actually. Oh, thank goodness, hamburger. Thankfully for me, right after this, I got some food, and that honestly gives you way too much health in Swap Force, but of course, I did not care because it kept the run alive. Rampant Ruins is the first level in the game with a boss fight. Now, Swap Force tries to make these boss fight levels their own level, which is why I said Swap Force has the least amount of real levels, so that you can access the boss fights like a level in the level menu. But I just consider these extensions of the level you just played. Rampant Ruins was the first time during the run where I kind of took the enemies seriously since they are arcane enemies, and if they got a hit on me, it would deal a decent punch. But while the enemies were more difficult this time, it's still only the 4th level in the game, so it was over and done with without a scare. Now for the boss fight. Yeah, Evil Glummy never stood a chance. Now it's time for Iron Jaw Gulch, and I will say, I got hit up a tad during this one. A bit earlier in the chapter, there was cannons that kept getting hits on me while I was battling some enemies, which lowered me down to 254 HP. Again though, the Swap Force food gives you a lot of HP, and I was back up in no time, and also the level was also done in no time. Even the final battle of the level wasn't as bad as the one at the beginning of the chapter. Okay, so we got Motleyville coming up now with a boss fight, but not a good enough boss fight to get its own level apparently. Motleyville was definitely the hardest chapter of the game so far, which is good because, you know, it's the latest level. The first part I had a real issue with was when I was fighting some Archean Copters and Greebles. I think I was just being a bit too aggressive in this fight, and it cost me a lot of HP. Ah, dude, stop. Dude. Oh, you're being a bad boy. Stop it. You're still not dead? Jeez, freaking tank. And I was left with 345 HP, and even after I got back up a bit, I was bamboozled by some enemies after leaving a room, and I was taken down again to 415 HP. I was looking pretty good after that for a while until another big battle between an Earth Gear Golem, where I will admit I was being pretty careless and I got into the red health with the Gear Golem when he hit me with a shockwave, and that got me to my lowest during this run so far, besides the raft section at 209 health. But then I spotted some cheese and got back up real quick, and I don't think this really counted as a scare because I was pretty sure I was going to get past this. From then on, it was smooth sailing. Even the Baron Von Shellshock boss fight at the end of the level did not cause any harm. Twisty Tunnels is another level with a boss fight extension at the end of it, and I must say, it was considerably easier than Motleyville. The only time during the chapter where I lost a good chunk of my health was when I was fighting the Air Spellpunk and charged up some trolls and they were able to attack me faster. But I got some pizza right after that and everything was good. Except wait, is that a turret section? You've got to be kidding me. This is real fun gameplay here, guys. You know what I'm saying? Real fun gameplay. Like we couldn't just go straight to the boss fight. We had to do this. They had to make the level even longer than it already is, which is cray. Anywho, the boss fight chapter here is the Fire Viper, and all you got to do is hit it with plungers for some reason, which somehow knocks it out, and then you destroy the crystals on its head. After doing that a couple of times, the Fire Viper eats you and sends you into his belly. Down there is one more crystal you have to destroy, and there were some Fire Gear Golems, but I just walked past them, and it worked since I was able to destroy the crystal before they got to me. Boney Islands is the next task, and oh, is that a turret section I see? Come on, are we serious? I can get a break with these turret sections, man. There's too many here. Worst thing is the turret section dinged me up a good bit as it took out half my health. but I was quickly healed up after this. For a while, the level was going pretty decently for me until at the very end, a troll loose cannon got me down to 285 HP, but I was never really scared that I was in real danger here. And after this, unfortunately, I had to do one more turret section before the level ended. I think the following chapter, Winter Keep, really showed Rebel Rouser's lack of crowd control abilities. For some reason, this felt like the first chapter with an abundance of chompies. And the best attack Rebel Rouser has for this is his drill head attack, but even when he does this, his back and side are still left vulnerable to the chompies. And I got down to 445 HP here. I also got a little bit smacked when fighting the Ice Gear Golem, but once he was finished, Winter Keep was also over in a snap. We have yet another boss battle level here with the Frostfest Mountains. I realized quickly in this chapter I can simply just avoid a bunch of enemies. I just skip past every enemy in this level that I didn't have to fight since there wasn't that many enemy gates blocking you from getting to other areas in the level. So as you can imagine, I didn't have that much trouble here except for the very end where I actually was forced to face off against enemies. And speaking of face off, now we have to do that against Mesmeralda, and I was actually owning this boss battle. I didn't get damaged until the very late stages of the boss. But when Mesmeralda's health got real low is when the fight amped up a bit in difficulty. She was throwing everything she had at me, her bombs, her spinning blades, and within seconds she had melted off half my health. But I knew that it would only take a couple more hits and I was able to defeat her without a scare. I might add here that in my other video when I was using the best Skylander from each game, I did get a scare here, so maybe my Skylander skills are getting a bit better. Phantasm Forest is a level that does not need to be as long as it is, which that's most of Swap Force, but I really felt it here. And it's not like this level is even that difficult. There was a few moments where I kind of had to lock in a bit more than usual, especially when I was fighting undead spellpunks, but this level felt so trying to get through. And if it couldn't get any worse, there is a turret section at the very end of the level too. The turret splashes out water and it is so slow to move. And this level also features that weird chaos boss fight too. Honestly, I'm just happy that it's over. Alright, the final real level is next with Chaos's Fortress, because after this there are only 2 boss battles left for the game. I know that I was just complaining about level length with Phantasm Forest, but dang, Chaos's Fortress was honestly worse. Anyway, when it comes to enemies, I think the most annoying I've had to deal with so far in this game are the magic spell punks. They make other enemies disappear and it's harder to see them, and they disappear as well, so getting rid of them is just very annoying. These magic spell punks were a real pain to deal with, but I got past them. Then I got to an area with 2 K-bot mine miners, as well as some weird goo ball shooting machines, and these K-bots have a ton of health, so it was taking me forever to defeat them. Then some chompy paste petals appeared, and I got damage from them, and I was very low on HP at this point, and I still had to deal with 2 K-bot mine miners, and well... Stop it! Ah! No! Well... That sucked. First of all, that level is way too long. I've spent 29, almost half an hour in that level. Jeez. Yeah. Rebel Rouser is bad. I probably should have used his little mini guys. Now that I think about it, I didn't really do that. But, man, yeah, that sucks. Oh. I really do think if I had completed this level... I could have won. I really do. That's the thing that sucks about it the most, because the Chaos boss fight is not hard. The Chaos Mom boss fight is not hard either. Or Chaos Mom doesn't have a boss. You know what I mean? Ah, dang it! Oh, I really thought I was gonna win this one. And to not be able to do it. Knowing that I have to beat every single game now. To even complete half the games in the series, and with Trap Team coming up next, it can't get much worse, can it?
It can.
Ah, man, I really thought I was gonna... Dang it. So despite me getting defeated here, there was only one scare during the entire run on the 3rd level. So by completing 11 full levels with only one scare, that's, well, one scare for every 11 levels. Or, 0.09 scares per level. And now with me failing to beat Swap Force, I have to beat every single game to even have completed half of the games. And Trap Team is up next, so things are not looking that good. This pick was another easy one for me. There wasn't really any other Skylander in contention for being considered the worst in my eyes, so the Skylander I chose is Head Rush. I know it might seem weird at first that I'll be using a Trap Master in this playthrough since they do more damage to villains, but that just goes to show how bad she is. She pretty much has no range in any of her attacks except her Echo, which is an awful attack in itself. And while her Head Rush does actually do good damage, you just put yourself in such an awful position whenever you use it since you have to get up right next to an enemy to use it. Without a doubt, she is the worst in Trap Team. I feel like even talking about the first few chapters would almost be insulting y'all's intelligence, as we know by this point no matter what difficulty you play on, the early stages of Skylander games are very easy. But just to show you proof that I actually played these chapters, I did get through Soda Springs and Know-It-All Islands, and this one has a turret section, so I hate it. But now we arrive at Chompy Mountain with the first real challenging boss fight at the end of it. Naturally, Head Rush being terrible, it took me some time to get to the end since my battle with Bruiser Cruiser took longer than normal, but eventually I was about to enter the second Chompy Mage boss fight of this video, and this one is a lot harder. A major issue I had here is you have to jump a lot during this fight, and Head Rush is a very clunky Skylander, so it was rather difficult to jump time and time again over Chompy Mage's shockwaves, especially when he entered his fire form and started jumping all over the place. I was at 396 health before I even landed my first hit on Chompy Mage, but there lies the one thing that could save me in this fight. The Skylanders do a lot of damage to Chompy Mage when you do get hits on him during this fight. So when I finally got my hands on him, or my horns I guess, I got rid of half of his health immediately. But then Chompy Mage started spamming that jump button and I had to move around a lot. Eventually he went back to the middle where I decided I was just going to run towards him and try to defeat him even with my low health. I got hit one more time, sending me down to 283 HP, but I was able to take down the Chompy Mage. But this was very close and I was really scared that the run could end on level 3. So when he hit me to get me down to 283 HP, that is the first scare of the run. Phoenix Sanctuary was a nice break after a very close call in Chompy Mountain. The Chill Bill boss fight was actually pretty easy, and even the arena battle at the end of the chapter didn't present any challenge for me. But we have yet another Doomlander boss fight with Chef Pepperjack in the level Chef Zeppelin coming up. And yes, this level does start with a turret section. What I will give credit for is that in some of these Trap Team levels with the turret sections, you're not stationary. You actually can move around a bit in it, which is better but still not ideal. Something I did not expect was the Bombshell boss fight in this level, aka the supposedly easier one. I lost about a third of my health here, but by the end of the level right before the Pepperjack fight, I got my health back up almost all the way to full. And surprisingly enough, I had absolutely no issue here with Pepperjack. I've always thought of this boss fight as a much more straightforward battle than the Chompy Mage one, but I thought it would still be somewhat challenging since I was using Head Rush. Apparently that wasn't much of a factor and Pepperjack was done pretty quickly. Rainfish Riviera is a level with 3 villain fights, but for me it was really only 2. The Brawlrus fight wasn't that bad despite the fact having a non-ranged Skylander makes the fight somewhat harder. And then we got to the Mastermind fight, and here I accidentally fell out of the stage when rushing at Mastermind, and when I got back to the stage there must have been some code in the game where if you leave a villain fight stage and enter it again they instantly get defeated, because right when I got back into the stage Mastermind was instantly gone. What? How did that just happen? I mean, I'll take it. What? That was weird. This is why I said there was really only 2 boss fights for me in this level. The last fight was Brawl and Chain, and this one is definitely the hardest non-Doom Raider fight so far. I was never worried per se that the run would end here, but Brawl and Chain put up a good fight as he took out half of my health. But then it was smooth sailing for the rest of the level. For the majority of the following chapter, Monster Marsh, it was a breeze fighting the undead enemies. Even though there is 3 villain boss fights here, you only actually have to fight one of them. And the I-5 boss fight was not that bad. But then we got to the arena battle near the end, and things kinda got real, I'm not gonna lie. The culprit of my issues here was the Snozzlers, which is their name. They are flying enemies and they drop bombs, and you have to wait until they hit the ground to damage them. These dudes destroyed me, lowering me down to 312 HP. Then I fell out of the arena and landed on something that put me down to even more, to 273 HP. An eye enemy smacked me and now I was in the red at 229 HP. Yo, what the heck? Right then was the second scare of the run, but it was only a scare because I locked in, and it was mostly because this was near the end of the battle anyway, which works for me. Can I be done, please? Yes! Thank God. Oh, thank God, thank God. Woo. Telescope Towers features what, in my mind, is the easiest Doom Raider boss battle with Dreamcatcher. The first challenge of this level was the Hoodsicle fight. Now, Hoodsicle deals a lot of damage, but he only attacks you when you get really close to him. But unfortunately for me, I have to get close to him with Head Rush, and Hoodsicle actually got a couple blows on me, and I was down to 373 HP. After this, I ran into the Snozzlers once again, and once again they owned me, putting me in the red at 185 HP. Luckily though, there was food right in this area, and I completed this fight. But yes, when I was hit down to 85 HP, that was the third scare of the run. Then, right after this, I had to go into the Pinata boss fight, which is another enemy that would be really easy for a long-range Skylander, but Head Rush is a very close-range Skylander, so I had to get very close to Pinata without him hitting me. I really thought I was gonna get past that level up until like right there. Obviously, you know, I think the big fault with Head Rush is that she just doesn't really have a ranged attack. Obviously, she has the echo and stuff, which you could say, but she can't move when she does it, which really hurts her. She's a bruiser Skylander, right? Like, she gets up close and personal, and she does do good damage, right? So, like, she's really good with crowd control. So, like, really small enemies she can handle really well. But when it comes to enemies with bigger health, like, you know, a Hoodsicle, a Pinata, maybe even I-5, you know. I'm not talking about just about their boss forms, but they're also their regular forms. She's just so bad against them because you have to get up close to them. And she doesn't really have... And she's very clunky, too. She's very slow. You know, she can't turn very well. So... she just has such a hard time defeating bigger enemies that have more health without getting hit at all. So, yeah, it kind of sucked. I didn't think I was going to get that far. I did think I was going to get past this level, honestly, after the Hoodsicle fight. But, dang, that sucked. We played 8 levels in this game, so less than half, which is the first time in this series that I have failed to even reach the half-point level. Both 3 scares and 8 levels, that is 1 scare for every 2.67 levels. The following games are Superchargers and Imaginators, which are probably the easiest 2 games, so hopefully here I can salvage this video and complete some games. If you thought I really hated Sunburn in his section of the video, well, let me introduce you to a Skylander that somehow tops him. I'm of course talking about the worst Skylander ever. That's right, the worst ever. In Skylanders Superchargers, I will be playing as Fiesta. The craziest thing about all of this is that Sunburn is nowhere near as bad as Fiesta, and y'all saw how much I did not like Sunburn. Almost everything you could dislike about a Skylander applies to Fiesta. His attacks do no damage, and his attack speed is also slow. He doesn't have great range, and somehow his Soul Gem attack works better as a primary attack than his primary. The only, and I mean only, redeeming quality about Fiesta is that for a Supercharger, his health isn't awful, but everything else about him is terrible. Also, the vehicle I will be using in this playthrough is going to be the Hot Streak. I know that Fiesta can supercharge the Crypt Crusher since that is his vehicle, but the Hot Streak is just so much better, and since if I die in a vehicle that will count as a defeat in the run, I want to make sure I'm using the best vehicle. Even in level 1, the Rift to Skylands, it was already very clear that I was going to have a difficult time with Fiesta. It took forever to defeat some of these medium-sized enemies in level 1. Oh, and I had to do a pretty mid vehicle section too, which didn't help at all. Now we have the Cloud Breather's Crag, where once again, I was finding it so hard to use Fiesta, and it's not even really like I was getting damaged and things, it was just taking so long to defeat these enemies, which is very annoying. This is why Fiesta is so infuriating to play with, because honestly, Superchargers is not that hard of a game. You will likely not get defeated in most parts of it, so when I'm playing with Fiesta, it just feels like I should be knocking down these enemies, but I'm not, because they decided to make Fiesta the worst Skylander ever. But anyway, I got through the crag with no problem except having to use Fiesta. The Cloud Kingdom features some very heavy enemies that cause me some trouble later in the level. Most of the time here, I just skip past these enemies since there's like no enemy gates here. Can I just skip these dudes? Oh my god. God, Fiesta does no damage. Don't talk to me. Oh my god. And it was working until near the end of the chapter. While there was still no enemy gate there, it was a light puzzle gate. And the iron equalizers were so big that they were blocking the light beams, so I had to defeat a couple enemies here, and since Fiesta is bad, that was pretty hard. I lost around half my health in this section, but once I finished this part, all I had to do was a racing boss fight with Lord Stratosphere, and since Fiesta wasn't the one attacking anymore in favor of Hotstreak, well, things were a lot smoother. I will say this playthrough is probably one of the only times that I really appreciate half of the game being in vehicles, since I don't have to rely on Fiesta as much as I would in other games. That being said, however, one of my least favorite boss fights is in the next level, Land of the Undead. Pretty much every Superchargers level has some sort of gimmick in it, but I haven't mentioned that because they were not that important to the gameplay, but here it is. In this level, you have to switch different perspectives, being upside down or controlling a Skylander from a top-down view. This has never bothered me for the level portion of Land of the Undead, but the Count Moneybone boss fight is a different story. This is definitely up there with my least favorite boss fights in the entire series because of the changing perspectives. Even all these years later, whenever I'm on the walls in this section, I cannot drive. I don't know what it is, but my brain cannot seem to comprehend how to control the vehicle when I am not on the bottom floor. At the end of the day, this is a skill issue, I get that, but I also think that the view you get isn't the best either. Basically, for me to win this fight, most of the time I have to wait until Count Moneybone gets down to the bottom floor. But when I did wait, I did get good damage on him, and I got out of here without a scare. The worst level, probably at least for Fiesta, is the next one, with Battle Brawl Island, where there is no vehicle section and only boss fights. Now, are these boss fights hard at all? No. It again just took forever to defeat these guys, since Fiesta is hot garbage. It took me over 25 minutes to complete this chapter, which is awful. With Superchargers being this easy, it is honestly just more annoying, if anything, than it is hard to get through some of these chapters. Spellpunk Library is a very visually interesting looking level, and also when it comes to difficulty, it's very trouble-free. This is because all the sections where you fight enemies are 2D sections, so they can't really send waves of enemies to get you. Honestly, I am running out of things to say because trust me, Fiesta is terrible, but this game has just been so easy so far, and I'm trying to find out different ways to say this for each level. Want to know what happened in Gadfly Glades? Well, I was fighting the bug enemy and I realized I could just skip him. I know, it's very fascinating.
Wait, do I even gotta fight this guy? Yeah, there's no enemy gate. I don't have to fight this guy. Oh my god. What's up, play up?
I'm making a video for my application to Chick-fil-A.
Right. Okay.
The same thing can be said about Captain Cluck's Chicken HQ. Nothing happened in this level. I will say some of my least favorite land vehicle sections are in this chapter because you have to push around chickens into these vacuums for whatever reason to open up gates and also defeat Captain Cluck. Okay, here we go. Finally, something interesting. So in the beginning of Monstrous Isles, Fiesta was getting pieced up by a bunch of umbrella-wielding trolls. Yes, these jokers got rid of more than half of my health, which is just another example of Fiesta's suckitude. But once you eat the colossal kernel and turn giant, these dudes do nothing to you. And for whatever reason, there is also so much food at this level too. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of boss fights, 3 to be exact. The first one wasn't actually that bad because it has less health than the next ones, but now we get to the Beachcomber, and this one was bad. This was another example of the fight itself not being that bad, it was just the length it took me to complete this, which was absurd. And then right after that, I had to do another lengthy boss fight with the Thundertoe. This Thundertoe would get a few hits on me, but nothing ever to put the run in danger. So the following chapter is pretty much the opposite of Battle Brawl Island. We got Ridepocalypse Demo Derby, where you had to fight 3 waves of boss fights, and all these were pretty simple, but the second boss fight was definitely the hardest, and the last boss fight was actually the easiest one. Okay, we now entered the final 3 levels of the game with Vault of the Ancients. Now, would you believe me if I told you that I had absolutely no issue with completing the 3rd to last level in this game, with the worst Skylander of all time? Well, if you believed me, then you'd be right. Again, I don't know what to say here. There's not a lot to say. The push and pull magnetism gimmick in the level's cool, I guess, so there's that. The penultimate chapter of Superchargers is a no vehicle section level, which is nice to see, but also not nice to see because I don't want to have to play with Fiesta. In this one, you have to go on a bandit train. This one is really easy to talk about as we can go over each train room. The first room, you have to get a key. Easy. The second room, you have to do a block puzzle. no biggie. The third room, you have to take out a couple of pirate henchmen. Simple. Fourth room, there is some 2D platforming. Not bad. Fifth room, defeating more pirate lackeys in a dark room. Muy fácil. Sixth room, another 2D platformer. Painless. Seventh room is a break room with Persephone. Thank you. Eighth room is another block puzzle. Effortless. Ninth room, yet again, another 2D platformer room, but this time with clouds in it. Trouble-free. 10th room, a giant brawlers attacks you with a key we need. Straightforward. 11th room was a room where you need to find a key. Uncomplicated. 12th room, we got again another 2D platforming room. Elementary. 13th room, block puzzle in the dark. Piece of cake. 14th room, another battle with the bandits. No sweat. 15th room, an even easier block puzzle for some reason. Child's play. 16th room, some platforming and defeating enemies. Duck soup, which yes is another way of saying easy, and that was I think 14 different ways to say easy. Anyway, the 17th and final room features the well-known Skylanders boss battle with Blubberbeard. And yes, I am being sarcastic. The thing I tried to do here was get rid of all the grenades first, because they deal a lot of damage if they explode on you, and they can be kind of hard to see in this room. And once I did that, Blubberbeard stood no chance. Alright, this is big, because this is the first time in the video that I have at least made it to the final level. In Spyro's Adventure, we got taken out in Falling Forest. In Giants, we got taken out in Chaos's Castle. In Swap Force, we got taken out in Chaos's Fortress. And then in Trap Team, we got taken out in the Dream Catcher level, which is Telescope Towers. So, yeah. I think almost every game I got taken out near the midpoint level, or like a little bit before the midpoint level, except for Swap Force, where I almost got at the end. I didn't get to the final level though, technically speaking, but here I am at the final level. All I have is Chaos in the Darkness standing in my way of completing this game, even though I have Fiesta, who's the worst kind of all time. Let's do it. Okay, like I said, we are here for the first time playing a final level in this video. So since we are only doing mandatory vehicle sections, I skipped past the air one in the beginning and got right into the level. During the first battle of the level, I was doing good until I got stuck between a pitch black pitcher and got hit by another enemy and was left with half of my health. Thankfully, one of them dropped some food for me, and by the time I was in the next section of the level, I had a good amount of my health left. The real level of the Sky Eater isn't that long, since 1, they expect you to play the other vehicle sections, and 2, they save a lot of the level for the 2 boss fights at the end. I had to defeat one more wave of Chaos's minions though, but once I did that, I was ready to enter the second to last boss fight of the game. By this time in the run, I was using Fiesta's Family Fiesta attack instead of the primary whenever I could, since that one does deal a bit more damage than his primary. This little bit of extra damage really did me wonders. While the boss fight still took me forever, it helped bring down the length a bit. And since the Superchargers Chaos boss fight is by far the easiest in the series, mainly because it's the only game where he is in the final fight, I had no issues defeating him. And now, even better, the final fight against the darkness, I will not be using Fiesta since this one is in a vehicle. I was locked in at this point, a flow state if you will. Nothing was going to stop me from beating this fight. The darkness tried everything he could to beat me, but his efforts were no use. I was going to beat Superchargers. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. Let's go. Oh my god, let's go. Whew. I had a feeling that this would be the one where I'd finally get it done, you know? I really did, because the main thing is, right, I knew that the final boss fight would not be in Fiesta's hands, and I think that really eased me at the end, you know? Knowing that I wouldn't have to rely on Fiesta for, I guess, essentially the hardest boss fight in the game. Yeah, that really helped. So I do think Superchargers is probably the easiest game if you're playing with any Skylander. Obviously, if you're playing Imaginators with an Imaginator, like, it's easier. But if you're playing with just like any regular Skylander, I actually think Superchargers is probably easier than Imaginators. But I'm still happy to get a win here. I'm still happy to get a win here. So it just feels great. And I will say, Fiesta is an awful Skylander. Whenever I get to finally doing my ranking every Skylander, I mean, I've said before, Fiesta will be the 167th or whatever it is. He is bad. He's not good. He does no damage, and he also damages slowly as well. He is like anything that could be bad about a Skylander, Fiesta is. The one thing I guess you could say that's good about him is that he isn't like slow like a giant, I guess, but that's it. He is awful. Don't let this playthrough fool you, okay? Superchargers is just easier, and I honestly felt like I played a lot better during this run than I have played in other runs, but that's maybe just because I knew how bad Fiesta was going into it. So don't let this confuse you. Fiesta is awful, but yeah, I'm so happy to finally get a win here, and hopefully I can end up getting at least 2 wins with Imaginators, but yeah, I'll see you on the next section. Thank goodness. Even though I was using Fiesta, honestly, I dominated this game, getting through 13 chapters with no scares, giving us a score of 0 scares for every 13 chapters. Now that I finally have a win under my belt, I'm hoping that I can do the same thing in my favorite game, Imaginators. Imaginators, for my money, has by far the best roster in the entire series. I don't even really think there's like a bottom 10, 15, 20 Skylander here. However, we still have to pick a Skylander. And it did end up coming down to the 2 guest star Skylanders, Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex. For some reason, they made these 2 Skylanders considerably lesser than the other senseis here. And in the end, I went with Crash, mainly because of his health, which I won't lie, it is pretty bad. He does have multiple lives, but when he does come back to life, he still only has barely any health left. While I wouldn't put Crash in the same tier as some other Skylanders I played with in this video, his health, or lack thereof, makes it feel like I have to be ultra careful when I play as him. So for those reasons, he is a Skylander I'm using in this run. For the first time in this series, there's a boss fight you have to play in every chapter because yes, Trap Team doesn't apply to this since you can't skip some of them. Even in the first level in Imaginators, the Cradle of Creation, it has a boss fight at the end, the Sorcerer Doomlander, and I mean, it is cannon fodder but still. Mushroom River for the most part was straightforward. There was this one part though in the level where I always feel like I get damaged. It's this 2D platforming kind of section, and the way the enemy attacks you and the fact you have to use a jump pad almost forces you to have to get very close to getting damaged, and I did get damaged here. Crash having such little health every time I get damaged, it is a big no-no. And even though I did enter the Brawler Doomlander boss fight with 63 HP, I still had 3 lives, and later I got food, so I was never ever worried during this level. Okay, now we got Scholarville, which has 2 boss fights. The first one was the Bazooka Doomlander, and as you can imagine with this being the 3rd level, it wasn't that hard. The second boss fight near the end of the level was the Evil Sea Monster, which was significantly more difficult. There was a part where I fell out of the arena, and then when I landed back in the arena, it put me right next to the Sea Monster, and I lost that life, which I thought was really stupid. Oh, come on. That's BS. That was stupid. That wasn't a scare, but that's stupid. Shellmount Shores didn't feature any scares, but I will say it seemed a lot tougher than previous levels. The Doomlander here though was still a complete joke. Sky Fortress was the first time during the playthrough I faced some adversity during the run. Right before the Doomlander fight, a squawk and awe took away one of my lives. Then somehow I allowed a couple Beak Seekers to take out my other life. Fortunately for me, I found some food and I got another life, which I haven't mentioned how I do that. Pretty much every now and again a crash box will give you a life, and that's what happened here. So I entered the Doomlander boss fight with 2 extra lives, which I did not end up even needing since I dominated this boss battle. Since I never had 0 extra lives during this level, I don't think I will count the Beak Seekers taking out one of my lives as a scare. I might as well talk about the Guacamole boss fight, even though you can't really die here, but it is almost like a turret section, so it's bad. Fizzland. It is a level alright. That's for sure. It's not a good one, however. By the time I got to the Ninja Doomlander fight in this chapter, I had gotten 4 extra lives, so I wasn't very much concerned at all here. But the Ninja Doomlander did put up a good fight. He did punch me all the way down to 66 health, but I never used an extra life. The same thing cannot be said about the Golden Arcade though. I got through the entire chapter effortlessly until I had to face off against the Smasher Doomlander, which takes place in a 2D form. I was doing great for all of the boss battle until the stupid fire spell punks spawned in. I have come come to the conclusion that these spell punks are supposed to be obstacles and not enemies you're supposed to defeat, because they are in the sky for most of the fight, and it's also very difficult to take them out. But these spell punks are the only reason why I ever have troubles with this fight. I lost my first life when I ran into a spell punk, which was my fault. For some reason my brain didn't register that I could get hit here, and I was down to 2 lives. But when I lost my second extra life, I was a bit upset. I mean, look at this. What else was I supposed to do here? I either got hit by the Smasher Doomlander or the spell punks. It was a lose-lose. Then I lost my third extra life in my final one to the spell punk again, and I now had 0. Thankfully though, this one got defeated right when I got revived, but this right here was the first scare of the run. Then right after this, I was able to defeat the second spell punk, and once I did that, I was pretty much 100% confident that I would be able to beat the fight, and I was correct. Again, the spell punks are the only reason I ever have troubles with this fight. In the Dragon Temple, you can choose different paths in the level 2 different times. The first one is to go down the path of fire or ice, and I chose the ice path since you don't have to fight as much. And the second choice is the path of the brain or the brawn, and obviously I chose to go down the path of the brain, since if you go down the path of the brawn, you have to fight enemies. Unfortunately for me, I lost a life a bit later, but I did get my health back up before the Bowslinger Doomlander, entering the battle with 2 extra lives. And despite the fact that I was at 10 HP at one point during the fight, I never lost my 2 extra lives. In fact, I gained 1 more. Now for our next task, we are not entering a level, but instead we have to do the dreaded cake part section, which honestly isn't even that bad since you can find like half the cake parts in the hub world. But whatever. In my last video, I did count this part as a level since you can be defeated in some of these missions, and I will be doing the same thing here. The first cake part I found in the hub world near the Sky Fortress level. The second cake part I found in a cave in the hub world near the Shellmont Shores level. For the third cake part, I actually went into a mission, which happens in a mausoleum. A little dark if you ask me, but I got it, no biggie. The fourth cake part was found again in the hub world underneath the Life Realm entrance. The fifth cake part I found a little bit later in the hub world, kinda near the Scholarville level entrance. The sixth cake part was found in the hub world after battling some enemies, and Flynn gave it to me. I finally went on a mission again to get a cake part for the seventh one, and it was extremely easy. And the eighth and final cake part I also did a mission for, and just like that we have all 8 cake parts. Honestly, I don't get why so many people complain about this part of the game. It's not that hard, and I found most of the cake parts in the hub world. But the final level before the Chaos Boss Fight level is next with the Abandoned Amusement Park. In the midpoint of the level, we kind of had a close call because I lost 3 of my extra lives. I can't believe I just lost a life like that. Oh my god. Somehow before the Doomlander boss fight, I got back up to 4 extra lives. The Quick Shot Doomlander is definitely the hardest Doomlander so far, and I would argue that it's probably harder than the Chaos boss fight too. I lost my first life when the Doomlander was at half health, and then in a span of 30 seconds, I lost 2 more lives. While trying to dodge some more of the Doomlander's bullets, I lost my final life, and now I was in massive danger. The Doomlander didn't have that much health left, but neither did I, and I couldn't take 1 more hit from anything else or the run would be over. Man, you know, Crash, like, he could be a good Skylander. He just has such bad health. I mean, essentially, and if anything damages him, like, you're already at a pretty big disadvantage. Like, I'm not a perfect player, obviously, right? So, if I mess up, right, that is so detrimental. Like, you have it. If you're like a really good Skylanders player, I bet you can actually play really well with Crash. But someone like me, who I don't think I'm the best Skylanders player, I think I'm maybe I don't know, maybe above average. But like, you can't make that many mistakes when playing as him. And also, like, I don't think he has the best moveset ever. I mean, his Crash attack, what I call his Crash attack, his box attack is definitely his best one. There is a lot to, I think, be desired with that. You don't have that much control. Like, obviously the boxes a lot of the times will hit enemies, but sometimes they just won't. And in his kick attack is weird because you can use it for movement, but it also it has at some points in the run just it goes straight towards the enemy even if I'm not aiming at them, and that's caused me to lose health. And you can say that, oh well, he can't be the worst because of his lives, but he barely has any health left when you get back a life. Like, if you had 120 health left, then maybe it'd be decent, but you have 60 health left when you get revived. Even if you have 5 lives, which is the maximum I'm pretty sure you can have, that's still just not enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather him just maybe have 2 lives, but both of those give you the full health, you know, than just have 1 life where you can't mess up again, you know? Kind of sad that I only beat 1 game, but again, I'm not the best player ever. So, and these are all the worst Skylanders. So yeah, but with 1 life, kind of sucks I didn't beat this game because I was very close. This is the game that I am the most disappointed in not winning, as I know if I had beaten the Quickshot Doomlander, I would have won the game. I do not think the Chaos Boss fight is that hard here. I think I would have won. We completed 9 chapters with the cake parts being considered a level, and with 1 scare here, that's 1 scare for every 9 levels. When it comes to the entire video, we played 59 levels, and in total there were 11 scares. So for the entire video, that is 1 scare for every 5.364 levels. Even if I was playing with the worst Skylander from each game, I am frustrated that I was only able to complete 1 game because I think I probably could have beaten Swap Force and Imaginators if I was more careful, but I did just have 1 life. I'm pretty sure this video once again is on the longer side, so I will wrap it up here. If you made it through the whole video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. Also visit the Sky Shop.